Welcome to the MLS Hour 2021 Legislative Edition. I'm Rene Galicia, Director of MLS Engagement here at NAR. We have several updates for you from our industry partners, including RPR, CMLS, RESO, and Realtor.com. And we'll finish up with an update from NAR's research team, followed by a legal update. But first, I'd like to turn the mic over to David Sharon for an update on the REALTORS Relief Foundation. David?
Hey, everyone. Thanks again for tuning in. Some of you in the audience may have wondered, whatever happened to that guy? Where's he been? Well, I've been working on several things, but none more important than representing the REALTORS Relief Foundation. When I was invited to join the foundation's board of directors, I jumped at the chance. To me, the REALTOR Relief Foundation represents the very best of NAR and this great industry that we serve. And to be certain, helping others in need is easily one of the things we are all able to rally around. The foundation was formed in the shadow of 9/11. Literally within days, the foundation was formed. It is a nonprofit organization started in 2001 by the NAR leadership team comprised of Richard Mendenhall, Martin Edwards, Kathy Watley, Pat Kaplan, Terry McDermott, and Dale Stinton. And you know what? These same folks are again stepping up, along with President Charlie Oppler and CEO Bob Goldberg, in helping lead the foundation in this anniversary year. The foundation was initiated as a response to 9/11, knowing that our industry affects so many lives, and collectively, we could make a grand impact. Many of you were part of this initial response, as was my organization, MRIS, raising $8.4 million in just the first 100 days following 9/11. That, my friends, was big. That initial response formed the basis of its continued existence as disasters continued to occur. Since inception, the foundation has responded to 100 disasters, helping over 17,000 families of the public through the $33 million granted. And importantly, 100% of all the donations go directly to the recipients of the fund, as NAR graciously picks up the entire cost of managing this 501c3. Next slide, please. I'm truly honored to be a part of this distinguished group that comprises the foundation's board of directors, each of whom I can truly say is motivated and eager to make the foundation the best it can be. As directors, our job is twofold. Along with NAR staff, we review and approve requests for funding and, you guessed it, solicit and secure financial investments. Next slide, please. In early conversations with several MLS folks, some were not fully aware of the foundation. But once I shared its first 20 years, light bulbs really began to come on. In fact, this past week, one MLS executive stopped me after 60 seconds and he said, "David, stop. We got it. We are so in." That was great. I believe the timeline of disasters that you see on the screen today has contributed, to which the foundation has contributed, really says it all. The need for the foundation is great, and unfortunately, as you can see, disasters are increasing in frequency and also in severity. This is exactly why the foundation and NAR leaders decided to take a fresh look to ensure it is ready to respond to the increasing influx of need. Hence my ask of each of you on this call today. Next slide, please. We are excited to announce the 20th anniversary campaign. This historic effort provides a unique opportunity for the MLS community and its partners to unite together to commemorate not only what occurred 20 years ago on that horrific day, but all the disasters since then and the thousands of families we've helped cumulatively since inception. What's truly different going forward is that the foundation has invariably raised funds post-disaster, meaning that a disaster occurs, money is raised, and money is distributed. And while hand to mouth would be an overstatement, we literally find ourselves in the position of making asks shortly after each crisis to replenish the funds. Through this campaign, we are now asking our supporters to change the culture and think big, really big. We are raising money proactively to build a reserve fund that will enable the REALTORS Relief Foundation to respond faster and more efficiently when a disaster strikes. And what ideally happens going forward is that you plan for this contribution as a part of your annual budgeting process. Yes, as I said, this is a big ask. We can't plan for disasters, but we can plan to help our neighbors when they occur in big ways. And by participating in this campaign and giving proactively, we will be enabled to do so. Next slide, please. We're just at the start of this campaign and excited to invite all of you to participate. Here's a look at some of the early donors. I hope you see the diverse support of the foundation thus far. All sized local and state associations, MLS associations, for-profit companies, they're all going to participate and are participating. As I said, we all have a role. And in this foundation and in this campaign, we can ensure that so many who need us will get help. There are other supporters not included in this slide. I'm certainly proud of MLS organizations like Bright and RE Colorado as early adopters. Others include CMLS, RESO, Staten Island MLS, One Key MLS, and North Star MLS for their commitments. And of course, many thanks to Realtor.com for going big, real big. Still several others I've spoken to have said it's not a question of whether or not they will contribute, but only how much. Again, we are literally at the very beginning of our efforts. So I know that these MLS and tech providers represent but a small fraction of the many that can and hopefully will participate once they hear this message. Next slide, please. My hope, no, my goal, and for those of you who know me, I will not be denied, is that MLS organizations as a whole step up in a real big way. This is our opportunity to unite together and show the industry and the public our dedication to our communities. I'm personally asking you to consider involvement. It's a capital campaign, so I ask that you consider a financial gift that truly captures the importance of the foundation and this milestone. And if you're interested, I'd also love to have you volunteer to work alongside me. Maybe you can invite others or help our team understand how we can connect with other groups or segments of the industry. You, of course, can advocate. We have great platforms and would appreciate your willingness to use them for this great cause. Next slide. President Charlie Appler and CEO Bob Goldberg proudly determined that the Realtor Relief Foundation will be a highlight of this year's NAR mid-year conference. So you'll start to see recognition in the coming months, real recognition. We are recognizing all donors, large and small, and would love to have you alongside us. Now, the recognition levels are listed to the right. We have organizations reaching truly aspirational levels, such as the Northeast Florida Association of Realtors, who with its 10,000 members notified us just this week that they are proudly contributing $250,000. Wow. Next slide, please. Francesca Lenzi is devoted full-time to assisting NAR, helping provide guidance and support on this most important program. Both of us, or any of the directors of the Realtor Relief Foundation, would be pleased to work with you or your organization in greater detail. We can be reached at rrf@nar.realtor. Thanks again for your time today, and please reach out with any questions.
David, thank you for that update. Great to see you. Glad to hear things are going well and glad to hear that you're involved in such an important initiative. Rodney Gansho, Director of Engagement for the National Association. I have the privilege of introducing our speakers for this update. I remember when the Realtor Relief Foundation was formed, and it was no surprise back then how the membership in the organization asked, what can we do? How can we get involved? It's just the fiber of our membership and the culture of our organization. So thank you, David, and thank you to everybody who's contributed and been involved with the foundation. Next, we have the update from Realtors Property Resource. And I have the privilege of introducing Jeff Young, who's the Chief Operating Officer and General Manager for Realtor Property Resource, RPR. And Jeff, turn it over to you to tell us about the great things that have been taking place at RPR. I know you guys have been busy.
We have been, and thank you very much, Rodney, and thank you to the audience that's tuning in for the opportunity to give you an update on RPR for Q2 2021. It has been a great year for us. I've had the privilege as overseeing RPR to have 3 years in a row where I get to talk about how our usage and our delivery of high value products for our members is hitting record levels. So a couple of milestones to touch on this year. We have over 900,000 user accounts that have been created by our members. And we track a couple of different KPIs, which are unique users over 2 periods. One is 90 day and one is 30 days. We are at 336,000 running 90-day users and another record of 230,000 in the last 30-day window. All of this really follows the partnership networks and programs that we put out that help organizations assist our agents and brokers in serving our consumers. One of those is our RPR broker tool set. We register individual companies and right now are running close to 9,700 companies who are part of our program, and they represent almost 625,000 agents that receive the benefit of broker tool sets. One of the main value propositions for that is broker branding that comes through on all the reports that go to clients and customers. We also have really made a big investment over the last couple of years in our commercial resources, and that's in tandem with everything NAR does in supporting commercial agents and brokers and the commercial listing display program. One of the things that we're most proud of right now is we've crossed over 1 million commercial listings in the RPR commercial platform. And that's through an expansion of partnership with data aggregators across the country, from Total Commercial to Catalyst Markets, Brevitas and Crexi, who are part of the NAR commercial listing display program, Office Space, and most recently by Proxy, which is a reach company. We also operate one of the largest data shares in the industry, which we call RPR View. We crossed the 1 million member milestone, which means there's 1 million members that have an opportunity through really just data sharing permissions that all of you in the MLS community authorize RPR to do on your behalf, that lets Realtor subscriber participants see listings in at least one other either contiguous or MLS somewhere in the country. And for active listings, that's extremely important that we have that sort of reach and view inside RPR for our members. We also have over 725,000 realtors that can also see historic or sold data through those sharing permissions. So one thing that we're extremely excited about and started off the year really well for us was what we call the RPR Refresh website. RPR is 10 years old in 2020, and this is I'll say the biggest launch that we've had to improve our system since our initial residential launch in 2010. And everything that we have that was released is all based on user feedback. We created a member experience group 3 years ago that has done a great job with learning how we could improve the system to make it more efficient and higher value to our members. So first off, you can search all properties from one spot. With this upgrade, members can search any property. Users just toggle between residential and commercial. We used to go from a blue system to a red system. Now you just toggle, and it actually carries over all of your search settings as you go back and forth. That allows you to work within the areas that your clients and customers are asking you to just more efficiently. And it gives you access to over 95% of all active residential listings, plus that 1 million commercial listing number that I mentioned. And you've got the ability to search all of RPR's off-market public record data nationwide. And as you log in, you'll see across the top there something new, which is called shortcuts. They guide you through the most popular use cases on the site, such as how to create a report, CMAs, building out prospecting pipelines, and opportunity zones. Next, you come to the home page. Members have a personalized My Market area, which pops up automatically. And this is where you watch for changes in your local market. And it also includes more personalized features such as recent searches, your reports, listings, and saved properties. Next, you get search results, and search results really come back in a couple of different ways. And this again is all based upon user feedback. Some of our members like to see their search results come back in a list. Some of them like to see this great gallery of high quality photos, and others want to go back to this map view. You can set that the way that you want, and it represents the way you like to see all of that. So speaking of mapping, members can easily search a specific area with the new geographies dropdown. This displays neighborhoods, opportunity zones, census tract, and even school boundaries. Or you can create custom geographies with the drawing tools. You can overlay data layers and see market and data trends all on this map. One of the big things which isn't part of the search and property features is the integration of our support resources with the main RPR navigation. We still have the RPR blog, but you don't have to go there to get your training and your news and information. It's quick access here to webinars, tutorials, a knowledge base, and tips and strategy articles, all from the homepage. So again, all about efficiency, all building it the way the members have requested. So what's next for 2021? Well, what's next is actually kind of what's current too. Just on this week, middle of April, we launched the new AARP Livability Index. I'm going to give you a little more detail on that. We are working on our forward planning for an enhanced SSO, which will benefit both brokerage firms, franchises, and MLSs. A refresh to our property details, always looking at how to improve our performance and our data, and looking at mobile planning for upgrades to our mobile application for 2022. So speaking of the AAR Livability Index, or AARP Livability Index, this is an example of how you'll see this high value score, which also links over to the AARP website. On our property details page, you'll see it in our neighborhood section, and it'll also be on a number of RPR reports, because the idea is to get this great information out to our consumers. And last, this is really something specifically for MLSs. I just want to highlight that we have the RPR landing page for MLSs. It gives you quick access to our video tutorials. We really strive to work with you and provide fresh content. And we also want to help you promote your logo and have that be very prominent for your members. So with that, Rodney, I'll flip it back to you, and thank you for the opportunity.
Great job, Jeff. And hats off to you guys and everyone on RPR staff. You guys are leveraging the platform, creating these partnerships, and just enhancing the services of RPR, that for anyone who's not currently using it, you're missing out. You got to check it out. MLSs should be checking it out. It's a wonderful tool. Everybody I talk to who uses it says it's a wonderful tool.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have Rene Evans, who is the CEO for the Council of Multiple Listing Services. Not a stranger to NAR and the MLS industry, always working with you guys on something. Rene's here to talk about what the latest efforts and initiatives are at the Council of Multiple Listing Services. So Rene, it's all yours.
Thank you, NAR, for the opportunity to provide a CMLS update. My name is Rene Evans, as Rodney said, CEO of CMLS. And my goal is to share what we're currently working on, a brief review of some of the resources available for you to help run more effective organizations, and also a little bit what's to come down the pipe. So a little bit about CMLS, or the Council of Multiple Listing Service. We are the National Trade Association for MLSs with just over 200 members, covering about 1.3 million subscribers. And we also have business partners as part of our membership, because it does take the whole, all the different stakeholders to continue to make the market work and meet the needs of both the realtor and the expectations and wants and needs of the consumer. So we believe that the MLS is the best way to create a more vibrant, competitive, transparent, and efficient marketplace. And so that's what we focus on every day, all day at CMLS. And so on the next slide, I want to give you a little hint without a lot of details about our upcoming conference. It will be in September, and we are looking forward to have more of the details on that soon. So keep an eye on that. But that is a 2-day event that is all about everything MLS. So would love to have you join us there. Next slide has some of the resources that we have on our website. If you haven't been to cmls.org, please go visit it. It is full of best practices and resources for you to utilize, everything from customer service, data access management, human resources, finance. It's all in there. Anything on MLS, please go give that a try. We also have an implementation guide for both the clear cooperation policy. You can look at that for some more information and ideas, as well as the participant data access, or PDAP policy, that was just passed in November of 2020, I think it was. 2019, actually, I think. So go there. There's lots of great things for you to use and implement in your organizations. The next slide is our In the Know campaign, along with also our Making the Market Work. Two campaigns that we have worked on, very excited about, to really talk about the value of the multiple listing service. You can see some samples on the screen as to some of our members that have utilized them and incorporated into their own markets. And the In the Know campaign can be used by anyone involved in real estate, including realtors, MLS organizations, brokerage firms. We have built all of these tools to be white labeled for you or your members to use when trying to communicate the value of the multiple listing service. On the next slide, you're going to see a little bit of information about, we were trying to figure out, what do the consumers know about the multiple listing service? And one of our big findings was a lot thought MLS stood for Major League Soccer. So we very much focused on talking about it as the multiple listing service. So there's no confusion. And I think there's a great opportunity there to really drive home the value of the multiple listing service with not only the industry, but with the consumers at large. On the next screen, I have a little something, hopefully this video will work, about something that is on there available for you to use and embed in your websites. And so if you'll, fingers crossed this works, go ahead and push play.
So, you're thinking of selling your home? How do you find buyers? How do you determine the right list price? Your real estate agent, using their membership in the multiple listing service, has the answers. See, the multiple listing service is where real estate agents representing home sellers collaborate with real estate agents working with home buyers. When a seller's agent places a listing on the multiple listing service, it gets in front of nearly every agent, working with nearly every active buyer in the market. Most home listings are then sent to public home search sites and apps. But this network of relationships, it's how transactions happen. Oh, and that list price? Your agent will use the multiple listing service to access the current and historical home sales information needed to help you make a smart decision. The multiple listing service provides the reliable information and access to buyers that are critical to any successful home sale. The multiple listing service. It's how you and your agent are in the know.
There is so many assets and resources on the website. So please go to cmlsintheknow.org. You can download all of these assets. There's a buyer, a seller, there's listing presentation flyers. There's all types of great resources in there for you to use. So we encourage you, if you have any questions, please reach out to us at CMLS. But the idea is that we would love for the industry to adopt and utilize these to help promote the value of the multiple listing service. All right, on the next slide, a little update on one of CMLS's strategic initiatives is National MLS Policy. And I did mention before about the Clear Cooperation Policy Implementation Guide, as well as the PDAP, or Participant Data Access. That was actually a policy CMLS originated and put forward to help ensure that brokers were entitled to get their own data back. And not only did we put the policy forward, but we did back it up with helping to provide this implementation guide that gives you options on some different paths to utilize and best practices for implementing those. Our next one we've been working on, some of you may have been hearing about it, but it is LEAP, and there is some acronyms going on, Listing Exchange and Access Policy. And if you haven't already seen that, please feel free to get involved in that policy discussion about how we are really looking to create more efficiencies in the market. What are the problems? How do we solve them? And what I'm so excited about the process is how collaborative the nature has been within the industry between all the different participants and stakeholders. So please get involved, be part of the policy making process, the best practice processes, if there's something out there you're seeing as the need. And thank you so much for letting me present today and share what we've been working on. And with that, I will turn it back over to Rodney or Rene.
Thanks, Danae. Hats off to CMLS. You guys are doing some great work and really appreciate the collaboration. Love that video, right? We have to control the narrative about the MLS and the importance of it, not only for the broker, but for the consumer as well. Next up, another valued partner in the MLS space at NAR is RESO. RESO stands for Real Estate Standards Organization. And at the helm of that organization is a very capable and forward-thinking individual, that's Sam DeBoer. Sam DeBoer is with us to share about what the latest issues and initiatives RESO is tackling. Standards are such an important thing to our industry, Sam. I look back to when we first started talking about standards and where we are today, and it seems like we've come so far, yet we have so far to go. So please tell us what you've been working on and what the membership should know about.
Great. Thanks, Rodney. And thanks to NAR for allowing us to come speak with you today. We love getting some time with our MLS folks. So a lot of you have worked with us for a long time at RESO, and we're excited to have you as member organizations, but we get new folks in the MLS space every year. So we want to make sure that you know what we do from a base level as well, if maybe you're newer to the industry or the MLS space. So RESO creates standards that create efficiency in your technology. We basically create the foundation so that your MLS tools, your brokers tools, your agents tools, even consumer-facing websites and technology can speak to each other in one universal language, and it just makes efficiencies for all of our businesses. So want to talk a little bit today about what we have going on at RESO, what's new. You've heard a lot about certification in the past, and we'll have a little bit of that today, but we've got some really exciting new things happening at RESO as we sort of expand into new venues, new countries, different languages, et cetera. So it's an exciting time. Membership keeps growing. If your organization hasn't spent a lot of time with us at RESO, we'll talk at the end a little bit about how you can get involved as well. So our first big thing that we've been working on for a long time, and this came from our member organizations as a need for the industry, is the Working with Real Estate data course. This is something that a lot of organizations had asked for a central way so people could quickly learn about the different organizations in real estate, their rules, their policies, how that interrelates between an MLS, an association, a brokerage, an agent, the trade organizations that you're hearing about today, and even those consumer-facing technology partners. So this course is available online now to anyone. It's a much better deal if you're a RESO member, and most of your MLS organizations, virtually all of them, if they're Realtor owned MLSs, are members of RESO. So we'd love for you to reach out. What most MLS folks have said to us is they're excited about being able to onboard new staff members who may not know the real estate industry yet, and really sort of give them a warp speed education as opposed to a long drawn out education on how all of our organizations work together. The other big push has been to help with volunteer education and training and onboarding. Most of you bring on new volunteers every year into your leadership, into your committees, into your MLS boards. I was once a real estate agent, a managing broker. We didn't know what we didn't know when we started joining the MLS space, the association space. So this is a really good opportunity if you want to help get everybody that same baseline of information who are on your staff, your executives, your board members, and just have a quick, easy onboarding sort of process for them. So you'll find this at reso.org. I'd love it if you want to follow up with me directly. I'd be happy to speak with you about that. But you can find a lot of these resources here today on our website. So we've had a lot of conversations recently with international organizations. As most of you know, RESO really started out working on residential US MLS problems. We needed those systems to be able to talk to each other. We need brokers to be able to get their data from multiple MLSs and put it in the same tools. And that's been highly successful for RESO with all of our partners. But there are also international organizations who are interested in benefiting from the standards and the efficiency that we provide to the brokers and the MLSs in the US. So more recently, we focused on Canada and Europe, and then Mexico as well, with bringing that universal language of technology to these organizations for that benefit. So Realtor.ca and the Canadian Real Estate Association have worked with us in translating the data dictionary into French Canadian. We've worked with COPSO, property search organizations in the UK. We've had meetings with Property Information Alliance, RACS was there. These are organizations that really can benefit from the same technology standards we have here in the US. Fibri in Europe, which is a blockchain organization that follows some of our standards. And then the Reach Accelerator, which has a class in Canada as well, and trying to widen that tent and really give everybody those same opportunities for efficiency. MPAC in Ontario is an assessment organization. Non-traditional members are joining the RESO space, which is really exciting for us. Lordea in particular was a fun one for us recently when we had a chance to have a talk with the trade association in Mexico that is similar in some ways to NAR. They supply services, rules, technology in some spaces to the property professionals in Mexico. And luckily for us, they had translators there because my Spanish is un poquito no muy bueno. But it was fun to have the conversations we have regularly here, because this concept of a universal data dictionary, a universal language, really rings true when we talk to organizations, MLSs, property organizations, tech companies that see the same benefits with what we do in our data dictionary, with the way we share data in our web API, that really crosses borders. It's not held up by any sort of national boundaries. So that's an exciting space for us for RESO. The other big area, and you heard a little bit from Jeff at RPR earlier, is commercial expansion. So we've been working with a lot more organizations in the commercial space. Some of your MLSs have a commercial component. Some of you may run full commercial MLSs. Some may have CIEs. But there's been a need and an increasing demand in the commercial real estate technology space for a more unified standard. So we can get the data from a commercial MLS out to a broker, out to a CIE, out to a public or investor-facing marketplace. And so these companies like RPR Commercial, the brokers in Coldwell Banker Commercial, Colliers, a lot of the tech companies you see here today, some of those from Reach we spoke about earlier, in Crexi and Brevitas, they've really come together and said, let's make that expansion happen. Let's support residential and commercial and really move that technology forward. So if you've got commercial real estate partners, let them know this is coming into place really right now at RESO. And we're excited to bring those folks into the fold and be able to provide that technology benefit for them. Certification. So that's what we do with residential MLSs with your technology partners, your MLS software partners. We certify data dictionary for your organization and web API. And that used to be just a pass-fail proposition. You'd test until you passed and you get a certificate for that. But we're really expanding reporting at this point. So if you go to reso.org, you can start out by just seeing where all the other MLSs are, what their certification levels look like, and get a little bit of information about them. But we're going to go a lot deeper than that going forward. So you're going to be able to dig in to multiple MLSs data sets and see what kind of information do the other MLSs have around me? How do I match up with other organizations? Maybe they're data share potential partners. Maybe you're just trying to get an idea for your board of directors. Are we matching up with other organizations? Are we above average? Are we below? Do we have great standardized data sets or not? And this will come out Q2 on reso.org again, but be able to kind of have an objective way of assessing how standardized are we on what needs to be standardized, and then how much other data do we have that might be custom and local and unique. RESO appreciates the fact that custom and local is important. We always talk about standardized fields being critical. We all know addresses, list prices, these kinds of things that are going to be in your data sets. But in Hawaii, miles to volcano might be an important field. Maybe not so much in Florida. We had talked about Colorado, maybe a ski up backyard is important, maybe not elsewhere. Your custom local fields, we can still certify and show what that data set looks like, but also be able to show you what your standardized fields look like that we know will interoperate. So if you're looking for a data share, you may be able to find out we've got 90% of the same fields as an MLS just across the state from us. That's going to help us in our planning. So we're looking forward to getting a lot more transparency and a lot more information for you with these certification reports. Major things we're working on supporting NAR initiatives right now, bringing all the Second Century Ventures Reach Accelerator companies into the fold as RESO members. We want those folks to understand RESO, benefit from RESO, scale faster, and be successful because they're working with us. Danae from CMLS mentioned earlier the LEAP policy. We're working on some technical concepts at RESO to be able to support whatever's needed by the trade organizations and the MLSs. And we can do a lot of that work in cooperation with NAR, with the brokerage organizations, and with CMLS. And then our testing and our reporting. We've automated the testing system to speed up certifications for you. And hopefully these new reporting features will give you, in your planning and your development of tools, a lot more information to work with. So we just finished up our spring conference, RESO Remix. If you haven't talked to people about RESO conferences, you should. They're a lot of fun. We've got a little bit of a notorious reputation for a lot of geeks having a good time. And we are all excited about getting back in person. So coming up in October, we're going to be at Kiowa Island Golf Resort in South Carolina. We'll have a hybrid. So if you want to visit by live stream and see the sessions, that'll be great. We'll have a lot of folks in person. I know we're all itching to get back out when it's safe and healthy to do so. So we'd love to see you there. Any other questions you have, feel free to email me directly. I'm sam@reso.org, or you can visit reso.org and find out about all these products and services. And thank you for taking the time today.
Great information, Sam. Thank you so much. RESO is operating at a whole new level that I don't think anybody anticipated or expected it to be where it's at. You guys have made standards and being geeks cool, right? So hats off to that. Love what you're doing. Really excited to see where you take this in the future. So thank you, Sam, for the update and for all that you do. And the same to all the staff at RESO.
Thank you.
Next, we have Bob Evans. Bob Evans is the Vice President of Industry Relations at Realtor.com. Bob, with the pandemic, lots of people looking at properties stuck in their houses. So I'm thinking business is good at Realtor.com. And I know you guys are taking advantage of that and leveraging different things that you're doing with the organization and the website. So Bob, please tell us all about that.
Thank you for having me. Today, I want to share 3 themes with you. First being that Realtor.com is large and growing. If you haven't noticed, we're 3 times larger than we were when News Corp acquired us. Our second theme that we'll touch on is we're seeking to partner and not disintermediate anyone. And we are aligned with helping your business succeed. We have a shared brand, and our brand can't grow if we're looking to disintermediate realtors. We want to collaborate with you, creating better experiences for consumers. And my third theme, we're innovating and expanding our products and services to better support brokers and agents on both the buy side as well as the sell side. We are investing more than ever in innovation. So let's talk a bit more about large and growing. When I mentioned that Realtor.com is growing, that was a bit of an understatement. Consumers are showing up to our site in droves relative to the past. We saw a record 94 million unique users in January, up 37% year over year, and up from 32 million when News Corp acquired us a number of years ago. We've grown traffic faster than Zillow in each of the last 13 months, and we couldn't be happier that our consumer audience growth is bringing more eyeballs to your listings than ever before. Let's talk a little bit about partnering. We seek to partner and are aligned with helping your businesses succeed. We're creating experiences that align with your business success, and we are not trying to disintermediate you. You may have noticed that our platform, our marketplace, more and more delivers choice and transparency, because choice and transparency yields confidence, and ultimately a better marketplace for all involved. For example, in July, we launched a seller's marketplace where homeowners can learn about and compare all the selling options available to them, including listing their home with a realtor. Seller's marketplace is open to brokers with iBuyer programs, and we reinforce the value of a realtor as part of the experience. We worked closely with NAR as we developed Seller's Marketplace, and it's a good example of how collaborating with the industry to create features and experiences that resonate with consumers. Since we launched in July, 52% of inquiry submitters chose to connect with a real estate professional, and only 1% of all Sellers Marketplace users have closed or are under contract with an iBuyer partner. As part of our continued innovation in the near term, we're going to be testing ways to drive more interested consumers to Sellers Marketplace as a way to capture these loose leads, potential sellers that aren't already engaged with an iBuyer, to help connect more of them with a realtor. And now a bit about innovation. We're expanding our products and services to better support brokers and agents. We believe that creating an open marketplace is the best approach to doing this, because open marketplaces offer choice, transparency, and support for consumers and real estate professionals, which yields confidence, and confidence yields closings. And one of the ways we are innovating is through our concierge network, which is generating strong results for many agents and brokers in the program. In a recent survey, 7 out of 10 of our concierge customers told us the program was critical or important to their broker business. And through the concierge network, we connect consumers with realtors in real time, which is critical in support of our shared brand. In closing, Realtor.com wants to be your preferred industry partner. We're growing, accelerating our pace of innovation, and helping brokers and agents achieve the best ROI. The consumer is our North Star, and we will only create the best experience for them in partnership with others. As I said at the beginning, we have a shared brand, and our brand can't grow if we're looking to disintermediate realtors. We want to collaborate with you. I want to thank you for listening, and I want to say that we are proud supporters of the Realtor Relief Foundation. Rodney, back to you.
Thanks, Bob. You guys are the aggregation site in name for the Realtor organization, and so much more. So thank you for all that you do. That concludes all of our industry update partners and entities that we wanted to inform you on. Next, we have a couple updates from within NAR, from our own internal staff. First up is Dr. Jessica Laus. She's the Vice President for Research. The reason we have Jessica on today is there's a lot of discussion about the economy. There's a lot of discussion about, ready, I'm going to say it, inventory. Everything's about inventory and the lack of inventory. So we have asked Jessica to come and kind of give us a sneak peek into the forecasts and expectations as we move forward from where we are today. So Jessica, how you doing? Thank you for joining us, and thank you for your presentation.
Thanks. I'm psyched to be here. I will tell you, I don't have like so great information. We don't have enough inventory. You guys are feeling it. You guys are hearing it. You guys are hearing the frustrations from buyers. Though you could be watching some really cool TikTok videos. I really liked the Apple one. That one was probably my favorite. Probably going to pay like $1 million for an Apple now. And that's really what we're seeing is the lack of inventory, and it's driving up prices very, very considerably. Looking at the inventory landscape, we're breaking lots of records, but not in a good way. So let's kind of go through where we are right now. What are the problems, what's driving it, and then where hopefully we'll be going soon. When we look at the inventory landscape, what we see is that the demand is strong. When we look at mortgage applications, they're actually up 53% from a year ago. That being said, a year ago, we were right in the middle at the beginning of the COVID crisis, and everyone was freaking out and we didn't know what to do. And so there was a lot of downturn in the housing market very quickly, but then it very, very quickly rebounded with really off the charts demand. At one point during 2020, we actually saw the highest home sales in 14 years. buyers because of the demand that was in the market. Right now, we're seeing a lot of people in the pipeline who have not been able to find a home and are very much searching for one. It's driven the low inventory that we're seeing right now by a number of factors, and I'll go through those. But right now we have the lowest number of units for sale since 1982 when we started collecting this data, the lowest number. So it is really as bad as you expect it to be and as you do see it. We have the shortest list time to contract time at just 18 days. It had been about 20 days for a few months, and it turned downwards to 18 days, just as we continue to see that inventory contract. We have 2 months of supply, a little over 2 months. That's kind of a lie though, because that number actually includes pending. And we know once a home is pending, it's probably not going to be on that open market. It's not available to buyers. So the real supply is actually considerably less than that, because we know that 83% of all homes that were listed in the month of March actually sold within 1 month. So it's really a very, very tight market that we are seeing today. What happens as a consequence, of course, is that we are seeing year-over-year home price increases that are also records. We've tracked this data back to 1968, and this is actually the latest month that we recorded has the highest year-over-year 1 month home price growth that we have actually ever recorded in our data set at 17%. That is truly extraordinary. When we look at just single family homes, so the 17.2%, that includes condos. But when we look at the only single family homes, what we see is 18.4% year-over-year home price growth, also breaking a record. We also see that in all 180 MSAs that we see year-over-year home price growth driven by this lack of supply. That in itself is a pretty extraordinary statement, because what we had seen for years is not enough inventory in markets that were very select, like Boston, San Francisco, Seattle, Portland. These are hot markets where young adults were moving, where millennials were moving, where they were buying homes. And so we saw a lot of new jobs in those areas and not a lot of inventory for homes. But now we're actually seeing it in all 180 metro markets. And the reason why is because COVID kind of mixed things up a little. People could actually move home where their families were. They could move out of a city center and work anywhere in the country, as they could work remotely. For many people who are dedicated laptop workers, that was a possibility for them. And so we did see that all MSAs were actually seeing this year-over-year home price growth. The other thing that I think is notable here is this is an extremely long stretch of time that we're seeing in this. It's actually 109 months now of year-over-year home price growth. And that's very, very hard. That is very difficult for affordability. That is very difficult for the wealth gap that we are seeing in this country. And it's very difficult for that homeownership gap that we are seeing in this country as well. And that gap is between races. We know that we are seeing low shares of first-time homebuyers today, the lowest share that we have actually seen in 33 years, because a lot of this has to do with affordability and inventory and just the ability to enter in that market. So you guys are feeling all those things, and it's rough. And so I totally get it. And why? I think that's the reason is we want to know why, right? Land, labor, supplies, laws, all of these are factors that we're seeing today. There is not enough land to actually build on. There are density restrictions that are contributing to that as well in many areas. We also see labor constraints. This has especially been a problem in 2020 with COVID. Very difficult to get people in a work site, keep everyone healthy and keep them working. And then we also have supply issues. So looking at the supply issues, there's a lot of things here with that just statement. We had seen that lumber was one of those issues. The cost of softwood lumber has actually gone up more than 200% in the last year. Very extraordinary, but it's not just lumber anymore. It's concrete, it's appliances, it's cabinets. All of those things are actually feeding into less inventory, less new construction that we have been seeing. Even remodeling is being affected as well as people are remodeling, and we're really having this remodeling boom. So where do we go? Is there going to be any relief to this? I don't know. One more here. Tenure in home has actually increased to an all-time high of 10 years, and it has stayed there. And it stayed there for a number of reasons. People were underwater in their mortgage. They didn't want to sell after the Great Recession. They couldn't sell, so they stayed in their home. They locked in low interest rates. And so that's actually feeding into this inventory crisis too, because people are just not moving. So we really do see that a lot of boomers holding onto that housing wealth, holding onto those homes and really not making that move. That's also a contributing factor here. All right, so any relief? Yes, possibly, maybe. The vaccine rollout has been actually really strong so far. I'm putting this here as a potential good thing. And the reason why is because we did focus groups in this last year of folks, of home sellers, of potential home sellers saying, why are you not selling? Would you sell? How are you feeling about this during COVID? And what people said repeatedly is a lot of anxiety, a lot of feeling insecure about letting people into their homes, even though they understood that there could be precautions that were taken, that homes were being aired out, they were still concerned. So I do think that people will have more confidence as the vaccine is rolled out, as we see that more than half of Americans now have at least one shot. They're feeling like this could be okay to list my home on the market, and feeling more confident to do so. The other thing that we could be seeing, and I'm going to dive in deeper on that, is possible sales. I'm going to leave that there for now, and I'm going to leave building repurposing there for now as well. But the housing starts, we do need more building. At its base, we need more units in America right now. We did see that the housing starts numbers showed some encouragement. They were actually the highest level that we've seen in 14 years. That being said, they've been underproducing for 13 years. So we need considerably more housing starts, and we need them stronger for about 3 years before we can start to catch up in where the demand is. So really do need a lot of units out there. And I talked about the reasons why we don't have that inventory and why they're really struggling in actually building those units. It also takes 4 to 8 months. So even that strong housing starts that we just saw, those numbers reported on a couple of weeks ago, it's going to be a while before we can actually get those units on the market. So let's talk about these possible sales that we could see. This is going to get pretty dark, so stay with me. Right now, what we're seeing is that 2.3 million households are having a hard time paying their mortgage. And I want to dive into who those folks are and where that inventory could possibly come from. What we are seeing right now, and this is reported by Census Pulse data, they're reporting it on an every other week basis. And this particular survey is actually based on more than 77,000 households. So quite a few people taking this survey, quite a few households out there. And what we are seeing is they ask them a few questions about their mortgage status and where they are in that mortgage status. What we do know based on this survey is that there's a lot of folks who own their home free and clear, but what we do see is that the largest share of those are actually white and non-Hispanic. I am totally going over my time, but I got a few more slides here and I want to drive this home, is that this is where some possible inventory could come from. What we do see is that 73% of Hispanic Latino homeowners do have a mortgage on that property, 71% for Black non-Hispanics. What we do see is that unfortunately for last month's payment status, is that the highest share of Hispanic Latino households and Black alone households, what we do see is 17%, they're actually not caught up on their mortgage. And so those individuals could be at risk of unfortunately needing to sell their home. That's not to say that this would be a distressed sale. This shouldn't be a short sale or foreclosure. It wouldn't be that situation. And the reason why is because of that massive amount of housing equity that these folks have in their home. And what we have seen is these such steep, record-breaking year-over-year home price increases should mean that these folks do have equity in their home if until COVID, they had been making on-time payments. So yes, it's unfortunate. We want people to be in a sustainable homeownership position, but if unfortunately they needed to sell their home and find a more affordable neighborhood, a more affordable city, or to double up temporarily for friends or family until they got back on their feet, they'd probably be able to do so with that housing equity in hand and be able to make that move. The next question that we do have on this too is what Census is reporting is the confidence to pay next month's mortgage as well. And again, we're seeing these two shares of Hispanic, Latino, and Black households not necessarily being feeling confident that they'll be able to make that payment. So that inventory could be there in the next few months. If these folks don't take advantage of forbearance programs that are available right now until the end of June, if they don't jump in on those, they may be putting their home up for the market. And so that could be some inventory that we could see. It's not necessarily super positive to talk about it, but it could be inventory that could happen out there in the market. Let's talk about that building repurposing. We just did a survey on sustainability. And what we did actually see is that only 1 in 10 members is actually been working in building repurposing. This is another area that we need to look at, I think, as an industry, at possible inventory. There's a lot of buildings out there that are not being used in cities around the country. Buffalo, New York, great example of that. They have a lot of vacant buildings that could actually be repurposed into inventory. So I would encourage folks to look around your cities, look at the current laws, look at the density restrictions, see if those types of buildings could actually be repurposed, because that could absolutely be a bright spot in housing right now, is to take a look at those buildings. All right, so that's all I have. I've definitely over my time, but thank you guys so much for having me. And I really do hope that this inventory crisis does clear up very, very soon.
So Jessica, don't apologize about going over. Oh my goodness. Like, could that be more powerful information for our members to understand? Like you said, everyone's feeling it, but to take it and put it in context, that's what our members need, so that they can understand what's going on, so they can communicate that to their clients and customers. So again, so powerful. Thank you so much, Jessica. Last but not least by any means is my fellow Ocho brother, Charlie Lee. He is the Senior Counsel and Director of Legal Affairs. Charlie's here to update us on legal and what's happening. Lots of stuff happening in the legal arena, Charlie. So please, for our MLS community, share.
Thanks so much, Rodney. It's always great to be able to work with you and Rene and be on the third wheel of the MLS team. And I think the presentation that I'm about to give ties in really nicely with what we heard from Dr. Louts. And so first, I just want to say hello, everyone. It is a privilege to be able to provide this update to you. And to begin, I am going to share a listing story, which I learned about thanks to my colleague in Iowa, Gabe Walsh. This story is about how a seller wanted to sell his property off the MLS. Now, it was a commercial property, and the seller wanted to keep it off the MLS because he didn't want to alarm his customers. The seller made a deal with a listing broker he worked with in the past, where he agreed to pay the broker commission if he procured an acceptable offer. The agreement, however, was not recorded through a written listing agreement. Nonetheless, the broker connected with an interested buyer and performed services. Unbeknownst to the broker, while he was servicing an interested buyer and performing services, answering questions, the buyer was communicating directly with the seller, who then, after doing his due diligence, ended up purchasing the property. The broker believed, at the consummation of the transaction, well, he was the procuring cause, and so he was due his commission. And so he approached the seller. But the seller disagreed that the broker was the procuring cause for the offer, and he refused to pay him anything. The broker then filed a lawsuit, sued the seller for a breach of contract, ended up losing in court because the court said the parties didn't have a listing agreement. It also didn't help the broker when it was stipulated amongst the parties that the seller was not in any way restricted from marketing his own property. So what's the moral of the story? Remember when you were a kid and someone promised to give you something if you did something in return, but then after you did what you said you would, the person holds up their fingers crossed like that? That's essentially the type of risk that we are learning that some brokers and agents are assuming to avoid MLS policies and rules. In this update, I'm going to talk about these risks that exist when brokers and agents provide services without a listing agreement. And then I'm going to talk about the importance and value of having a written agreement. So to begin, what is a listing agreement? This is a legal instrument that establishes the relationship between the broker and seller. It authorizes the broker to be the seller's representative with selling his or her property, and it enables the broker to use things like the property photos, videos, drawings, descriptions to be able to market the property to the public, to put it into the MLS and on the internet and wherever else suitable. The agreement also obligates the seller to abide by conditions and terms that protect the broker, such as exclusivity. If either party breaches the agreement, then they have a clear basis to be able to pursue legal action. And importantly for the listing broker, it ensures that the seller pays them the negotiated commission for all the work that they did in helping sell the property. Considering these benefits, it begs the question why a broker or agent would forego or delay the protections provided through a written listing agreement. As I said, it's troubling that some brokers have resorted to these tactics at their own peril just because they want to avoid particular MLS policies and rules. As we learned in the story that I told, a broker may think that he doesn't need a listing agreement until he realizes he did. Here are some of the major risks that a broker or agent assumes when they use this tactic. One, they could be breaching their state licensing law. Some states require brokers to have a written agreement before they provide real estate services, such as posting signs or doing advertising. Therefore, a broker or agent risks engaging in unauthorized real estate services when operating without a written listing agreement, even if it's for just a short period of time. I'll also point out that unless a listing agreement is signed, it shouldn't be considered an effective agreement. Second, the broker could be acting with very limited or no legal authority to serve as the seller's representative. This means that each and every action and representation that they make would be subject to the seller's approval. They would have to check with the seller. Third, a written listing agreement can protect the broker from personal liability. Usually, the listing agreement obligates the seller to disclose things such as material defects, and it also requires them to comply with applicable law, such as anti-discrimination or fair housing. So if either of these fails to occur and there's no written listing agreement, the broker could find themselves personally liable for any false representation or illegal conduct committed by the seller. Without a listing agreement, the broker may never know whether they are the exclusive representative or if there are others that the seller is engaging. The listing agreement defines the relationship, and it allows the broker to perform his or her services accordingly. Next, the listing agreement commits the seller to pay the full negotiated commission. This means that neither party can modify the commission amount without everyone's agreement. And it lays out the terms and conditions for how the payment will be made when it's due, and if anything can cause forfeiture. Last but not least, delaying or avoiding a written listing agreement raises questions about how and why this tactic is serving the client's best interest. If the objective is to protect the client's privacy, well, this can be accomplished through various marketing strategies, but none of those preclude a written listing agreement. A listing agreement protects the seller because it establishes a fiduciary relationship and requires the seller's best interest to always be served. It also provides evidence that if the seller, chooses to opt out of the MLS, that they're doing so with the understanding that they're opting out of all the benefits, which includes, the fundamental economic principle that broad exposure provides the best chance for the best price. So to delay or avoid a written listing agreement invites scrutiny of whose interests are being served. To avoid these risks and many others, Signing the listing agreement should be done as early as possible in the engagement. This protects the broker and agent, protects the client, and ensures that they are in full agreement with how the property will be sold. Recently, there's been much misconception about the value of services brokers and agents provide. Due to the lack of understanding, some believe that an internet app or an algorithm can replace the expertise and skills of brokers and agents. They underestimate the significance of a home sales transaction, its complexity, and the sophistication necessary to aid consumers through it. Therefore, it's important now more than ever to be sure that brokers seize every opportunity to tell the story about the value they provide. And the written listing contract and a buyer's representative agreement are two effective ways to ensure that consumers have this critical information. If something like a toaster comes with a warranty agreement and documents about how great it is, then undoubtedly brokers and agents who are professional experts that navigate complex matters should definitely be doing the same thing. So we are asking associations and MLSs to educate participants and subscribers about these risks and to recommend that they share this important information with their clients. To help with this effort, there are many resources like the great ones that you heard from Danae in her presentation that CMLS is offering. And NAR has created 4 infographics that illustrate things like the importance of the MLS, the microeconomics of buying a home, and the essential real estate agent to be used in these types of discussions. These materials are free and can be found on nar.realtor to be downloaded and shared. If you do have any questions about anything that I've discussed, please don't hesitate to contact me or anyone on the legal affairs team. Thank you so much for your time. Back to you, Rodney.
Thank you, Lee. So important for the members to remember their value proposition and to communicate that. There is a challenge out there and a misconception that just finding a house or looking on a website somehow replaces all of the benefits and services that our members bring to the table. Whether they're coming from a large firm, big firm, what have you, everybody brings a different perspective and customized service for their clients and customers. So thank you for that presentation, Lee. Such an important message. So that's it. That concludes our legislative update. Lots of great information. I want to thank all of our speakers. This really is the best of the best in the industry. If you didn't know, now you know, and you heard it from the people you need to hear it from. So on behalf of my fellow RG, Rene Galicia, and myself, thank you for tuning in. We want everyone to take care, stay safe, and we hope to see you again soon on the other side of this pandemic in person. Until then, you can rest assured that everyone that you saw today, Lee, myself, we'll all be working to help you in the industry move forward and keep this moving. So thank you. Stay safe, everyone.